Fellow Manospherians, I'm Anthony Dream Johnson, founder and CEO of the 21 Convention, co-founder and CEO of the Redman Group, chairman of 21 Studios. Today I'm speaking to you because of the growing crisis of honor, integrity, and masculinity itself, plaguing and holding back our community from true greatness. The reputation of a life to work on the chopping block, and with great hope and optimism for the future of this worldwide community of men and fathers.
Go so crazy as you look.
I told you, man of my word.
Date cancellation. In this post, he announced his removal from all 21 Convention events, encouraged attendees to seek refunds on their tickets, in contrast to our long-standing all-sales final policy, and stated then, as the minority owner of the Redman Group company, that the podcast itself, I'm directly referring to the recent controversy surrounding the actions of an author and self-proclaimed godfather of our community.
You go with all your money.
You see, I'm a guy of simple taste.
The purpose of my words today are to review, bring clarity to, and summarize the real-life actions and choices of former speaker, business partner, and friend known to you as Rollo. I make this video with a heavy heart, the reputation of a life's work on the chopping block, and with great hope and optimism for the future of this worldwide community of men and fathers.
Either way.
On June 2nd, 2019, Rollo was confronted in a private 21 Convention speaker chat by several alumni speakers, including but not limited to George Bruno, Socrates, Alexander Cortez, Ivan Throne, and to the witness of many more. The associated long-standing conspiracy to conceal the true nature of these events and related unethical conduct by Rollo in his association with the 21 Convention, a self-declared silent partner.
In response to the mounting evidence of this unethical conduct, in close counsel with top alumni speakers, and consistent with our long-standing policy and terms, I chose to immediately remove Rollo the speaker from all future 21 Convention events, as well as his regular involvement in the Redman Group show. These actions by Rollo were not isolated or accidental, but part of a larger pattern of behavior involving a failed coup on the Redman Group, and as revealed today, were part of the greatest conspiracy our community has ever seen.
What is good, people? Holy freaking shit. It has been a minute since we've been on live, but realistically, we doing weeklies now. So it is part of the plan. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Duke Reacts. Today, we are going to be finishing off where we left off from the Rule Zero fraud. Consider this one part 2, okay? Because, guys, I don't know if you guys realize this, but the reason why this whole series became a thing was because of Donovan Sharp's initial CME scam. You guys know that? You guys remember that, right? So the CME scam, when he went from high value to basically great value within a year. Like we didn't know what the hell was going on. And we were all asking that question, like, how is it that Donovan Sharp can launch the most successful Manosphere convention the first year around, and then the next year there were some issues, allegations regarding fraud, all these different things, right? And then the CME that he recently ran, well, it was a shit show. Why? Because it was held in a broom closet. And a lot of this stemmed from the back and forth tweets that Anthony Johnson had with Donovan Sharp and the beef that they previously went back and forth with. But listen, you guys won't believe that this went way back, including parties that some of you guys are not even privy to, okay? And we're going to break up the rest of this whole mess. And guys, I'm not fucking joking. This is a mess. Like, this whole story is a freaking mess. So the last episode, well, the last two episodes, the first one we focused on Donnie Boy's fraud. And by the way, if you guys want a short answer of that, he scammed. He faked COVID to get out of the CME. That was the whole reason why. Matter of fact, shout out to Red Pill Examine, because he did the research and then it realized that this dude had debts to pay for the year 2021, and it was due that year. And conveniently, we didn't have a CME that year, but Donovan's debt was paid off and he was allowed back to Miami. So, or however that situation broke down. But when we put the pieces together, it definitely made sense, right? Part two was basically starting off the origins of the Rule Zero fraud and how that whole group came to be. And I know I'm calling it the Rule Zero fraud. All right. I'm sorry. It is the Rule Zero, but the Rule Zero fraud kind of sticks. It should kind of slaps, bro, because it's not really a real thing. And we're going to break all that down and more. But that was pretty much part one. And part one, we mainly focused on Anthony Johnson's side of the equation, right? You guys remember that we played a lot of clips from his end, kind of explaining what was going on. And to briefly recap, a lot of it was him basically saying that Rollo Tomasi, Richard Cooper, who were the original founding members, instigated a Manosphere's coup to basically get him out of the Red Man group, him being Anthony Johnson, and install Rollo as the new Red Man group leader, okay? So that was the case, and we kind of talked about it as being this coup that was instigated. And since then, there were a lot of parties that came out and said, hey, we didn't have anything to do with this. This wasn't a Manosphere coup. We weren't trying to, take over the Manosphere. And by that, I mean like Rollo. That's basically what he was saying. I'll pull up the video here in just a second. Actually, we're going to break through all of that down. And this episode, realistically, we're mainly going to focus on their side of the story. What Rollo was talking about, what Richard Cooper was talking about when it comes down to the whole breakup, right? Is it what Anthony Johnson was talking about, basically being this coup that was instigated to basically take down the entire spaces, right? And once you guys hear the other side to it, right, it's not so black and white. Now, my opinions are on this issue is still pretty much the same, but I'm interested in hearing what you guys think, okay? And even after this, would you guys look at guys like Richard Cooper, Rollo Tomasi a little bit differently? Short answers for me, no. But that's what we're here to basically break down for you guys. So to recap, we just kind of like putting all together. That's what essentially happened. There's this back and forth. Anthony Johnson felt as though that these guys were coming after him to take over the Manosphere, take over his successful convention that he launched, and Rollo was gonna usurp him, right? And if you guys don't know, the way this whole thing started was Rollo, Donovan Sharp, Richard Cooper were the three main guys. Matter of fact, would you guys believe me if I told you that initially it was actually Anthony Johnson and Rollo Tomasi, right? So it was Anthony Johnson and Rollo Tomasi. And what had to happen is Rollo Tomasi was Anthony Johnson's biggest draw on the first go around, because he was actually, launching a lot of these conventions. Now, just like any budding entrepreneur, when you're starting out, because Anthony Johnson said he's been doing this since he was 17, right? Starting out, obviously, you're not going to you're going to be rough around the edges, if we're going to put it that way, guys, all right? You're going to be a little rough, okay? But as you progress and you start to invite new speakers, invite different people from different walks of life, right, to really put together a slapping event, well, you start to improve upon your skills, and that's what Anthony Johnson was doing. But at the I would say very, very start, but one of Anthony Johnson's earlier supporters and strong supporters was actually Rollo Tomasi, right? And Rollo Tomasi, or at least you guys can make the argument that Rollo Tomasi was the initial draw for this convention, was the initial big catch, big pull. And don't take it from me, guys. I'm just over here talking, all right? I'm actually going to play a video of Rollo kind of explaining that.
talking 9 months later practically, and this, like, I've had BPD ex-girlfriends that have not bothered me this long, right? I don't know what's going on, but I get that he's pissed, right? I mean, Rollo and I were the biggest ticket sellers in like the fall of last year at the last big main event. I mean, I sold more tickets than anybody else. Rollo came in second. Between the two of us, we probably filled at least half of that space, right? Facts, right? So
what Richard Cooper is talking about right now is essentially him saying, and this was the second year before Rollo Tomasi. So Rollo Tomasi initially set this up where they started to get the audience, the big draw. Because let's face it, the Rational Male at that point in time, it was pretty popular. There were a lot of things going on. There was some things that were, budding, but Rollo Tomasi really with the Rational Male took things to a whole different level. So when he came into the Manosphere, or at least when he was invited to speak at the 21 conventions and all these different things, right? This was a big draw because there were already people who are huge fans of Rollo. Matter of fact, Rollo still has one of the strongest fan base out there in the Manosphere. They're not growing. It's kind of like Donnie Boys, right? They're not growing, but they're strong and very loyal. And Rollo would say it himself. He's been saving lives out here with his books and shit. But let's continue.
When I left, I guess, of course, he's upset. But I mean, dude, we had Rollo, me, and Anthony had lots of conversations together to try to resolve the issues that I brought up that I believed were fair. Rollo, you can.
But so I had every intent to go and do what I wasn't even contracted to do, and I think people need to understand that Anthony has never had he's never paid a speaker's fee. He's proudly says he's never paid a speaker's fee. He has no contracts with any of his speakers. Nobody signs a contract that says you agree to be here on this day and do and speak for X amount of hours. It's a handshake. It's hey, will you speak at my event? Yeah, okay, great. You're on. That was the whole thing.
And it's a shitty handshake too, because as a speaker, you don't even own your content, right? I mean, I could ask Anthony for my last talk; he'll never give it to me. I've already asked him. It was never produced.
Yeah, well, he owns, right? And that's it's
so
interesting.
Not only am I.
So for those of you guys who don't know this fine, bald gentleman on my right here at the top right, all right, his name is Richard Cooper. This is the same asshole that charges dudes $60 per hour just to read off Rollo's books. Okay, so time out. As we're breaking down their side of the story, you guys got to understand who these guys are, okay? These guys, they're not like good guys. Yeah, Rollo's had some helpful books. I criticize the shit out of them because they're things to be criticized. But a lot of the things that they spew out is pretty fucking toxic. And some of the shit they've done on the back end are pretty fucking toxic. But let me harp on Mr. Cooper for a second, right? Aside from his sham-ass courses that he sells to unsuspecting vulnerable young males for $60 a minute. Literally, bro, most lawyers don't even charge close to that, bro. Oh, I'm sorry, bro. TG said it was $60 a minute, right? $60 a fucking minute, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's I'm still reeling from that. All right. So that's the truth. Okay. But Richard Cooper was the second big draw that Anthony Johnson had to his convention, right? He was actually featured on that event. And with Richard Cooper, same thing with Rollo, right? He had his business in the past. He started off with, he started off as a divorcee, married to a woman who ended up dating series of single moms, but ironically vents against single moms. So that's very interesting. But after his divorce, he got into the Manosphere space. I guess he was feeling the saltiness that all men feel after dealing with women, and they came in here. But Richard Cooper, you see, guys, what you guys got to understand about Richard Cooper, he is a very sly and sharp man, all right? Richard Cooper said, you know what, I'm not just going to go into this space and, just listen to what these idiots are telling me. I'm going to go ahead and create my own content because after all, Richard Cooper is no stranger to creating content on YouTube. Matter of fact, the YouTube content he's had prior to him jumping into this Manosphere, if you guys don't know, he actually ran a debt management channel. And that was part of his debt management company that he was running at the time. And that's partly where a lot of his wealth came from prior to coming into the Manosphere and milking simps, okay? So he was already sort of kind of established. So after his divorce, he got into this channel. He's talking about the entrepreneurs in cars theme, where he's talking about cars, he's talking about women. But his channel, if you guys can follow it, didn't really take off until he really started laying in the single mamas, right? Partly because he's had experience with them. But fast forward, he's linking up with ADJ, he's linking up with all these other guys in the Manosphere, and his name is pretty much out there. So when he finally goes in and joins the first or his first 21 Summit or 21 Studios or whatever the hell you want to call it, right? It was also a big draw because the entrepreneurs in cars, him harping on single mothers, that didn't fall on deaf ears, okay? That managed to attract its own fair share of simps that were going to be loyal to him as much as they were loyal to Rollo. And the fact that these two combined forces, they're almost kind of unstoppable. Let's just be real. And Richard did use Rollo for a second bit. But that's kind of his entryway into the Manosphere, linking up with ADJ. They do this convention, and this is pretty much where we are right now. And it's safe to say that Richard Cooper and Rollo Tomasi, as he's saying right now, they were among Anthony Johnson's 21 Convention's biggest draw, right? So let's continue. That's what they're saying.
By bringing the audience to your room, I'm also not able to keep the
You're giving away your
talk.
IP.
Yeah, the talk that I give away. I mean, this guy creates nothing. What he does is he puts a room together and then he builds speakers to bring their audience into the room. So, I mean, to have the audacity, to have the balls on you to sit there and proclaim yourself the president of the Manosphere, keep it, dude. Keep the gay nightclub. I don't care. I don't want to be part of it. You know what?
I'm out.
I proclaim that we now call this group of men that are rational and that have their heads screwed on right, the rational men.
Hey.
Fuck the Manosphere. Fuck it. Let them keep it.
They actually later on named it the Rule Zero. By the way, this is their origin story, the Rule Zero. Okay, this is right after the debacle, right after the nonsense. All right, and you guys may be asking, well, Duke, what the hell? What is this nonsense that has happened in this space that caused these guys to officially form? He calls it the Rational Men, but realistically, they became Rule Zero, right? You got Ryan Stone, and the guy with the bandana is MLD. Okay, MLD. He's not as important, but he is a key player in this, right? Which leads me to my next point. To fully understand this, you guys got to understand the key players in this game. You guys got to understand that, right? And the key players are Richard Cooper, MLD, Bulldog Mindset. Now, Bulldog Mindset, all right, he's a key player, but only for a certain event that happened. And it'll go along with the story here. So you guys got to understand. You guys got to keep up, all right? You had Steve the Dean Williams, Elliot House, I think his name is, Jesse Lee Peterson. He wasn't key, but at the time, Jesse Lee Peterson was a big enough draw that caused some problems with Donovan Sharp later on and ADJ, right? And then you got, obviously, I named Ryan Stone, but the main one of all, Donnie Boy, okay, a.k.a. Donovan Sharp. Okay, so these are the key players. And now how these key players split up, all right, because eventually they all kind of were under the 21 Convention umbrella or the 21 Summit or, the 21 Studios, let's call it. The 21 Studios umbrella, they were all doing gigs and things like that, or at least recruited to do gigs, right? And what ended up happening is once the fractured happened, and we'll talk about what fractured everything, right? But once that fractured happened, everyone split into different factions, okay? And those different factions, we'll call one the Rollo faction. We'll call the other faction the ADJ faction, right? The 21 Studios faction. Now missing one because there are three main factions, okay? And the third faction is actually the MGTOW / Black Pill guys, okay? You guys might be asking, what the fuck, Duke? What does MGTOW and Black Pill have to do with this conversation? I told y'all from the beginning, this is like a fucking mess of a fucking story, okay? But they are a faction that play a huge role in this, okay? And now you guys might be asking, what the hell caused the split up? Well, it was an issue with the New York Times reporter named Nelly Bowles that showed up to an event at a time that wasn't specified, and it was reported at the time that Rollo was the one that leaked the address to Nelly Bowles in an attempt to dox everyone there. And as we're about to play, it's a little bit different.
I like that. I did not.
It's a stupid name anyway.
Okay, right now, tell everybody I did not put you up to that.
No, you didn't, dude. I just said it because it makes sense.
Yeah,
Let's be honest. Nobody fucking controls Rich.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's be honest.
Well,
And that's why I was the first guy to leave. I mean, let's look at the numbers. Who else left this year? Me, Rollo, you were let go. Ryan, you quit. John, I think you were let go.
I was let go.
Who
Dino.
else was? Bobby Dino quit from
Dino's gone.
what I saw. Jack
Murphy quit.
Jack Murphy left. So that's
Donovan's gone.
Donovan who?
Oh, is he?
Donovan Sharp.
Donovan Sharp's out?
I don't know that.
I just love that little bit. It was like Donovan who? Like Richard Cooper's an asshole, bro.
Do not know
I
that.
think it's well, he left Redman Group. So.
Okay, well there's close
He
to like
hasn't
10
been-
people.
He hasn't been on Redman Group for a while. I know that, but
Well, let's put it this way, guys.
That.
There's like close to 10 people that have fucking bounced since I left. And I saw the writing on the wall back then and I said, "Look, guys, I don't see this as working out." As a resident guy that runs businesses, and I've coached Anthony. I mean, I wish he would have listened a little bit more. He runs, he's got a talent to run events, but the problem is that he's not focusing on the business. Build your business. I mean, if you have something to say, if you have something to prove, show me. Go do it, buddy. Stop talking. Stop. Like, could you imagine what this guy was thinking when he was creating the artwork for president of the Manosphere seal? Like, what was going through his head? Like, okay, buddy, I'll send that over to you. You're paying me, right? I mean, like,
Dude, Rollo and I used to be graphic designers.
Go
We're
and
just, like cringing.
Go and do it, man. Like lead the people if you're able to do it. But why is everybody leaving your event, or why is everybody having to be fired? And why are we manufacturing stories about Rollo bringing in Nelly Bowles? I was there. I was sitting at the table that night. I'm in the video, sitting at the table that he published. I was involved in pretty much the entire process in a private chat group, and I saw no evidence of Rollo personally telling her to get to that event. And let's say that he did.
Yeah.
And let's say that he did for a second.
So what?
Everybody else was taking pictures of the event and tagging it, right?
Yeah.
Indicating where we were.
In 2016.
So there you go. That was the straw that broke the camel back. Now, while that shit went down, right, when the whole New York Times, Nelly Bulls, all that stuff, right, what ended up happening was there was some back and forth behind the scenes that was going down, all right? This back and forth behind the scenes had to do with all those members that were there, right, including Rollo Tomasi, Donovan. Donovan Sharp was included, but Donovan Sharp doesn't play a major role in this particular saga. Donovan Sharp actually has his own saga with ADJ that actually veers off but connects in a way, right? So stay with me because this shit gets crazy. But what ended up happening is there was some messaging back and forth. And remember that faction I was telling y'all about, right? Well, that's where the faction started to really separate. Now, Rollo Tomasi at that point in time, Richard Cooper, who was already, fed up and planning on bouncing, right? Or actually, he already bounced, but he was they were talking behind the scenes, and they
He was going on, what was it, a Kickstarter or something like that, about trying to generate $21,000 so he could get the event going back then. I come in 2017. He has the most successful event, ever, and now and this. It's like what? At what point do you not?
It was like this: 2017 great event, 2018 best event ever back in the fall due to Rollo and I. I leave. Then there's the follow-up one, for the fathers. And I get he's pissed, right? Because I'm gone, Rollo's gone. I don't know why he threw Rollo out. That was the stupidest move he ever made. I'm not sure where he got that.
I don't know if they can hear me, dude. Can you guys hear me? Put a 1 in the chat if you guys hear me. It was some like crazy ass. Who the fuck? Like it was a weird ass shit happening, bro. Like, hang on. I think we're back. I think we're back. All right. Hang on. Let me just go ahead and play that back. Holy shit, that was fucking weird. Hang on real quick. All right, let's go. We're gonna go right into the video, but essentially they were just explaining what went down, like the whole breakup and how that shit basically was over with, right? And like I said, the third faction that I was about to explain was the MGTOW guys, right? But who was all in it? Who are the main actors, right? Well, the main actors goes by a fellow named MD, MGTOW Dictionaries, and DDJ. Those are going to be your two main guys because, as I said before the whole blackout and whatnot, there was like a huge faction split behind the scenes after the Nelly Bulls incident, right? Rollo and his faction going in, right? And then ADJ and his faction going in, which included Steve the Dean Williams, who was part of ADJ's faction, but that basically it. But the DDJ guys and the MD MGTOW Dictionaries, they were also a third main faction. So I'm gonna bring up this video. We're gonna let it play while we figure out what's going on backstage. But let's go ahead and
idea from, and then he gets all the chargebacks, from these guys. So he's out money too. But why would you promise to bill somebody at an event and then throw them out of the event and still expect to get money from people? Like that's deceptive business practices.
Yeah. When Rich split, and when all that shit went down, there are 4 people in that conversation. DDJ was not one of those people. So just anything that you're hearing about that through DDJ is 100% false. Okay. It is exactly the same bullshit that he did with Rich when Rich left. He had to put something out through a third party to make it like everything that DDJ did about you, Rich, and that video that came after your departure.
I didn't even watch it.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. And I don't.
That's how you said I was in it.
But that is, and he did exactly the same thing with me. It's like, what on earth? Why would I want to take over that? He said, well, here's some video, or here's an email where Rollo is trying to do a hostile takeover. Now, here's the thing, because you guys were involved in this process. When Rich left, I had at least 2 or 3 different Skype calls with you, Ryan, and Donovan.
This is the behind the scenes that I'm talking about here. Because you guys got to understand, after the Nelly Bulls incident, Richard Cooper was already out. He was out.
Carl and everybody else, what are we going to do? How are we going to go forward with the Red Man Group in this way? And we, over the series of like maybe 2 or 3 Skype calls, we decided what we wanted to do. One of those options was me taking over the show, and me, making sure that you guys are getting paid. And
let me just talk about that for a sec, because I'm only on for another half an hour. So let me just touch on that real quick, because the narrative that DDJ and Anthony are trying to get you guys to believe is that email that Rollo said about us handing over RMG to Rollo and taking it over for free or whatever it was. That's essentially the wording in the email. But the way that I took it was Rollo was trying to be a sober second thinker between squabbling siblings. It was like me and him were at each other about what to do with Red Man Group, and Rollo said, "You know what? Just give it to me. I'll run it. We'll keep it separate from everything, and let me go do it." And you guys have seen the email. It's not like I'm telling you anything that.
JR, the reason why the screen's crooked is because those 2 on the bottom are not important characters, which is MLD and Ryan Stone. They're really not important. The 2 guys are Rollo and Richard Cooper. But, obviously we've got to change the video up a little bit if we're going to play it, right?
That's basic business governance, though.
Let's talk about this real quick. Him trying to get back.
All right, so before we dump into Donovan Sharp's saga, because this is where this video leads to, right? What you guys also got to understand is that the incident or the narrative that these guys were talking about, they were talking about what Eddie J and what I said earlier before with the hostile takeover. Now, the thing is, it was put through a guy named DDJ. Now, you guys are asking, DDJ, the MGTOW guy that I was talking about. I think MGTOW or Black Pill. Please correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. But that's pretty much DDJ. Now, here's a crazy thing. Once these guys start to split into their own factions, Rollo and his crew, ADJ and his crew. Well, ADJ didn't really, he had a crew, but he didn't really have a solid crew, because when this breakup happened over Nelly Bulls, what ended up happened was ADJ was kind of on his own, right? Because you heard the one Richard Cooper said, 10 people left as soon as he quit, right? And there were other people quitting and things like that. So ADJ was probably at a point in time where he's like, well, fuck, I need allies at this point, right? I got some of the guys who are rocking with this event, but like, we have to get a hold of this narrative. We got to figure out, tell people what was going on, right? So he put it out through outlets like DJ, and who came up with that video that we played in part 1. So if you guys haven't seen part 1, go watch it right now, because it goes hand in hand with part 2. But that video basically broke down the email that Rollo wrote, in which he was basically saying what Richard Cooper said. He wanted to go ahead and take over the Redman group, but he didn't have the funds to do it. That's what he specified in the email. Okay, we laid all that out in part 1. And what ended up happening was yeah, like listen, I get it, showing the spirit. Yeah, listen, they did, but you got to understand, DDJ then put out the video, which what Rollo and Richard Cooper are talking about. This is the big argument right now. And what these guys, Rollo faction, right, took it as was a big hit piece against them, which, looking at it from their side, I can see it how you could see it that way, especially the videos you saw that we're going to play that Anthony Johnson saw as Donovan Sharp throwing hit pieces his way. So we can make that fair comparison. But DDJ, well, Anthony Johnson then sides with DDJ because he sides with the MGTOW faction, right? DDJ helps him put out a media narrative that basically said exactly what was going on and broke down that email, right? And eventually Rollo came back and replied, and pretty much in a series of tweets, in a series of, posts and things that are now deleted. And he actually did some videos, but I dare you all to go watch a Rollo Tomasi video. I dare you guys to watch 10 minutes of a Rollo Tomasi video and not pretty much drink yourself to death, okay? but then they took it as a hate piece, and then Rollo basically responded and kind of threw his bit out there, and then Richard Cooper and all those kind of guys, they kind of came in and swooped in and backed Rollo to a certain extent, right? And one of the guys that swooped in to back Rollo is Donovan Sharp, because you guys remember this was right after the event that he spoke at, and Donovan Sharp was all skits and giggles and everything like that. But Donovan Sharp is loyal to Rollo, right? Because we played the video earlier. Rollo Tomasi said he was responsible for actually bringing Donovan Sharp to Anthony Johnson. So some of you guys had the narrative of Donovan Sharp came from Anthony Johnson recruit. Rollo is claiming that he actually invited Donovan Sharp, which actually explains Donovan Sharp's loyalty to Rollo, because I couldn't understand why this dude is loyal to Rollo. I thought he came from the black manosphere, but after he pretty much beefed with O'Shea Dude Jackson and what's his name, Obi, what do you call Obsidian, right? Obi, right? After he's done beef with them, he got kicked out of the black manosphere, recruited by Rollo Tomasi into the white manosphere, and then he did that whole thing. So Donovan Sharp, right, felt as though he needed to go on the defense for Rollo. Now, this might actually sound familiar, folks, and the reason why it does, because y'all remember the trolling thing when Donovan and the Fresh and Fit situation happened, right? And he came out and said that we was all trolling, right? He came out and capped for a lie that Fresh was telling when it came to Miranda. Y'all remember that, right? And what was the reason he did that? The reason he did that was because he didn't feel like the last time Fresh and Fit got attacked when we came after him, right? Everybody came after him. He didn't do shit. Donovan Sharp was lip silent, and he was guilty, folks. And he said, you know what? The next time my boys get attacked again, I'm going to defend them, no matter how ridiculous it is. And it got pretty ridiculous, and Donovan Sharp still came out and defended him. So we know his loyalty where it is. Well, that scenario is the exact same that kind of happened here, because while Rollo was getting attacked by ADJ, and he was actually almost to the point where he's going to get fired from the Red Man group, but there were some things already happening behind the scenes. So Donovan didn't really stand up for what's good, Nicholas. I saw your message up there. Donovan didn't really stand up for Rollo at that point in time. So he was feeling the same kind of guilt. So then when he saw this DDJ and this MGTOW collusion, right, he kind of jumped onto the narrative that Rollo and them had, right, which was, I will not work with you if you're dealing with guys or MGTOW guys like MGTOW Dictionaries and DDJ. And for those of you guys who don't know who MGTOW Dictionary is, he's kind of like known around. There's some people out here that like, because here's the thing. Now, you guys got to question the association that ADJ had with not so much MD, but more like DDJ, right? But MD was backing DDJ, and that relationship with the whole media spin and things like that. Well, the rest of the Manosphere didn't really like that, because if you got to understand MD, at that point in time, no one really liked MD like that, except for MD's goons, right? Because he was like, he was kind of weird. Like, there was a lot of weird shit that was going on. He even had his little spin with MLD. Don't get the acronyms mixed up. All right. MD and MLD, Black Pill, and then Rollo's boy, MLD, they were fighting and beefing. But MD was kind of at that point where he was still on the, I want to take down everything that these motherfuckers have, right? And when at the time, coming off a successful 21 conventions, why would you then go and partner with a guy like MGTOW Dictionaries or DDJ to start putting out hit pieces? And that's what the Rollo faction were feeling. They were like, yo, ADJ right now is partnering with DDJ to put out a narrative about what happened. What in the hell? So, yeah, Donovan Sharp saw all of that, right? Saw the attack Rollo was getting and decided to hop in and attacked MD and DDJ. Yo, this just started to get crazy, right? So you got ADJ, Anthony Johnson, Rollo Tomasi, and Rollo Tomasi's faction going at it. Donnie Boy on the sidelines joins Rollo Tomasi's faction and then attacks MD Anthony Johnson. Well, Anthony Johnson took the video as an attack, and we'll play that video here in just a second. But he attacks Anthony Johnson indirectly by basically not accusing him, but basically just coming at him for partnering with those two people, right? And guys, I shit you not, this shit gets crazy, because then Anthony Johnson sees that as Donnie Boy basically coming at him. He's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, yo, what's with this video, right? And this is where Bulldog mindset comes into play, because the video that Anthony Johnson took as a hit piece from Donovan was actually Donovan going on Bulldog Mindset show and explaining the reason why he was upset with Anthony Johnson. And it wasn't because of the convention. It wasn't because on any of that. It's because Anthony Johnson is partnering with known doxers like MD, who want to destroy the space, and DDJ, right? That's what Donnie Boy was saying. And Anthony Johnson at this point is seeing this, and he's like, yo, what in the hell, bro? Like, okay, is this an attack? All right, fine. I guess it's an attack. So the first time the video dropped, Anthony Johnson didn't really do anything. But the second video that Donovan Sharp puts up, then Anthony Johnson starts to respond to Donovan Sharp, and some old shit starts to bring brought to the surface. So what is that old shit? Well, that old shit was the issue of Donovan Sharp and how he basically dropped out of two or three speaking events for Anthony Johnson at 21 convention. And this, mind you, was during that time all of this nonsense was going on. Donovan Sharp at the time blamed Stefan Molyneux and Candace Owens for the biggest reasoning on why he dropped out. But in this video I'm about to play, ADJ basically he did say that was the main reason, but he goes a little deeper into this whole thing. So let's continue.
Back in. So Donovan drops out of the events, right? On a phone call and a couple texts and stuff, he drops out. He blames Stefan Molyneux and Candace Owens, drops out of this event that later went on, and the 21 convention for men. I don't fucking appreciate that. What does he do? A week and a half later, he's crawling back in, basically vomiting to me exactly what I told him. Exactly. It's stupid to drop out. I'm not here to moderate minor disputes between speakers. If you're going to drop out of the event because of something another speaker said, I need to know exactly what it was, because it's probably pretty serious. The inability and refusal to send me a single link, video, timecode, article, transcription, anything about it is a big problem. It's a red flag is what it is. It's a red flag of someone who's full shit and fucking lying.
Now, I pause it right here because in the next clip after this, I stacked all this together, guys, for you guys, just for you guys. So please smash the like button. But the next clip I'm going to play after this is Donovan Sharp haphazardly admitting that, you know, this was the reason why Stefan Molyneux was the reason why he dropped out. So this pretty much, remember the tone of this text message, okay? I'm about to read it out to you. I've done a little thinking. I've spoken to quite a few people, and I'd like to speak at the 21 convention. There is no need for me to miss out on the event because of another speaker's view. Don't get me wrong. It's very difficult for me to resolve that in my mind, but at the end of the day, if the other black speakers don't have a problem with speaking at the same event as someone like him, then neither should I. Besides, Molyneux will make some self-scars. What are you talking about, Donnie? The entire event anyway, so the odds of me running into him are very slim, at which point I will just avoid interacting with him as respectfully as possible. Let me know when you can quickly have a chat about it. So Donnie boy, basically this was after he initially dropped out of both events. Now he's coming back. Now he's coming back and he's sending him on Messenger. This is what it looks like. Or I'm sorry, not Messenger, text message to try to come back to the 21 conventions. But Anthony Johnson is about to explain why the real reason Donovan Sharp came back. And it ain't because he had a few conversations with people outside of this, or he's looking at all the other black people. At this point, he's talking about Jesse Lee Peterson, AMS, and Coach Greg Adams, right? Those were big, heavy hitters that Anthony Johnson brought in. Because y'all got to understand, after Richard Cooper left, he took 10 people with him. They all had the mentality of this shit's done. Everything's like the 21 conventions, 21 studios, fuck it. It's over with. It's nothing now, right? But what they didn't realize is that, ADJ is still making moves, and he managed to secure guys like AMS, Jesse Lee Peterson, which obviously now it's not so much of a flex. So let's just make that clear for those of you guys who are going to watch on the replay, okay? It's not so much of a flex with Jesse Lee Peterson, but at the time, it was a huge flex because he was able to get Jesse Peterson and AMS and Coach Greg Adams. Those are the other black folks he's talking about that it's okay with this, okay? But let's continue.
The Candace thing, of course, drives it home even more. Now, the reason, too, I show this text is because Donovan does own up to the Molyneux thing half-heartedly, a little bit, on the John Samez interview, the one I just showed you guys here. What he does not do is own the Candace Owens thing in here in this text. And this is why he refuses, I think, to do so in public. He wants to evade it and avoid it and stay away from it. But that is exactly what fucking happened. And that's why I was talking about it to guys like George Bruno and other speakers when it happened, because it was so fucking dumb.
Thank you, Shonen Spirit. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's crazy paying attention to these dudes, man. That's why this channel, we just talk about and react to Manosphere, just lunacy, okay? There's nothing else on this channel. Go to my other channels if you want to see some fun shit or some more serious shit. But this shit is it's just so fascinating to me that dudes act like this. So I appreciate the support. But yeah, let's continue.
Talked about it for a couple days, and then it was history. Who gave a fuck? It's done. It's done, it's stupid, it's going to be put in history books, and it is what it is. So here's what happens next. After he drops out of the event, well, here it is. He's complimenting me on Jesse Lee Peterson, getting Jesse Lee Peterson as a speaker. Now he's here complimenting me on getting Coach Greg Adams and AMS to speak at the convention too. He's all about it. So what fucking happens, right? Here's the event. He drops out of the event. Here's the event that ends up happening. Now, all of a sudden, he wants back in. What happens is I launched the fucking speaker list a couple days after he drops out. Just coincidentally, it was about time to put out the speaker list. He sees the fucking speakers. He sees Jesse Lee Peterson. He sees Coach Greg Adams. He sees AMS. He sees that this is coming because he's been to it before. All of a sudden, this kid, this fucking idiot, this mama's boy, Donovan Sharp, is playing fucking musical chairs. He tries to get back into the convention he just dropped out of. 2 of them, this one and this one. He drops out, and in less than 2 weeks, he's begging me to get back in the convention. Like it's musical fucking chairs, like we're kids. Like you can just drop in and out of major speaking engagements whenever the fuck you feel like it. for any fucking reason you want, including the exact shit that I told you on the phone when you dropped out like a fucking idiot over Stefan Molyneux, who you're taking selfies with and you're all fucking about him, right?
Which Donovan Sharp, it does not help your case at all, bro, because you are taking selfies with a man that you are using as a reason that you dropped out. And realistically, I don't think the reason was because of Stefan Molyneux or Candace Owens. I think the reason was because the whole debacle that Rollo was going through when this whole shit was going down. I think that's what was going on, because you guys got to understand there was a lot of behind the scenes, and Donovan Sharp was already loyal to Rollo Tomasi. Anthony Johnson even goes on to explain in this very video the switch up with Donovan Sharp, because he didn't hear from Donovan Sharp for a while until those videos popped up. So this is, you guys, while this stuff is what you guys see on the surface, behind the scenes there are a lot of stuff bubbling up. So Donovan Sharp, already loyal to Rollo Tomasi, seeing what's going on with him and ADJ and the MGTOW guys, he's throwing in his hat to come at ADJ. And this is when, around this time was this is probably the video. This is where the mother of all diss videos were dropped on Donovan Sharp, pretty much exposing everything, right? We're talking about his criminal records, his real marital status, and the fact that he's actually married to a single mom. He exposed all of that. And I think the marriage to the single mom was the most damning of all of them, because he actually built a platform of basically this womanese about him being a player, getting all these different types of girls, and being a high value, generally desirable man. But essentially, if you were a desirable man, why would you settle for something that you rail against? Does that make sense, people? Like, why would you settle for a single mom, right? Why would you settle for that if you're a high-value man? You should have young... Matter of fact, at your age, you should be dating younger women. Look at Leonardo DiCaprio. He will not date a broad over 25, okay? Over 25, none. And he's probably the same age as you, probably a lot older, right? He's still able to do it. The fact that you ended up with her, of all people, and then you built a platform talking about women like her, that was the most damning thing that ADJ did. Matter of fact, I think, coupled with the DDJ hit piece video that Rollo deemed as a hit piece, right, towards pretty much exposing the emails. I'm not sure how DDJ got the emails, but he did expose the emails of Rollo Tomasi in them. So, you know, all these guys, it was fake. And the coupled with that video, this video that ADJ put out, and I'm gonna just be straightforward with this, probably was the single-handed video that destroyed the entire Manosphere permanently. Like, if the Manosphere was fracturing at this point, this video coupled with a bunch of other videos fractured the whole thing. It made it so much so that the Manosphere, under any circumstances, will never, ever, ever come together, no matter how many conventions you run. Matter of fact, Donovan goes on to run his own CME and then gets sued by Anthony Johnson later on. But this was the event, guys. This was the final straw that destroyed everything, because even as the diss videos kept coming out, Donovan Sharp kept trying to play daddy and tried to, I want peace, unity, love, kindness, happiness. But realistically, after ADJ dropped this, coupled with the DDJ and MD connection, it was done.
Oh, good job. This is just stupid, man. This is so fucking dumb. And again, this is exactly why this exact text is why he owned up to the Molyneux thing in public, because he knows he's fucked. And the Candace Owens things he thought he could dodge, but in reality he can't. I was talking about it with a bunch of speakers, and it was one of the reasons he dropped out. I will say that I think the majority reason he dropped out is because of Molyneux, maybe like 60-40%, 70-30. I don't think Candace Owens was the main reason he dropped out at 22 convention. But like George Bruno recommends here, George Bruno's even doubling down. He wants me to double down and invite Candace Owens as a speaker to 22 convention, where eventually we did allow one or technically two women to speak and present at the events.
Anthony has a...
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? All right. So I was gonna say, George Bruno went on to basically get sued by Anthony Johnson. So all this shit's a fucking mess, dude. A lot of these guys, it's a mess. It's all a mess. But this video is a video that Donovan Sharp put out. Remember I told you guys earlier that he was trying to play daddy and try to get everyone to come together. Wait a minute. Time out. Do y'all see that fat motherfucker in the picture in the background? Does that remind you of anyone? It's got a t-shirt that says Jap on it. It says JAP right on the background. Y'all see that right there? Put a 1 in the chat if you see that fat motherfucker sitting right back there. Yeah, this drunk over here was also recruited by that faction with the CME. The fact I got wrong in my initial video is that I thought that Minister Jap actually spoke at the 21 conventions. Well, he actually never spoke at the 21 conventions. He actually spoke at the CME, which he was recruited by the likes of Donovan Sharp, which also ran the 7 that had Steve the Dean and Solo TV84 involved in it, but end up kicking out Steve the Dean Williams, who joins ADJ's faction because Donovan Sharp starts to talk shit, not only about Steve the Dean, but O'Shea Duke Jackson and Obsidian. So all these guys, like even some of the guys in the Black Manosphere, because if you think about it, Minister Jap hangs out with, he used to hang out with Obsidian and some of these other guys in the Black Manosphere, but it just got all jumbled up. And I want you guys to really pay attention to something. Every single faction of the Manosphere gets pulled into this bullshit. This is what I'm talking about, like the fracturing that happens. Every aspect of the Manosphere gets pulled into this. You don't think Fresh and Fit's affected by it? Fresh and Fit is Soul TV and Donovan Sharp's boys. Okay, Myron Gaines is Donnie Boy's pupil. He was also on the 7 with Donovan Sharp. So Myron is somewhat loyal to Donovan Sharp, which Donovan Sharp is loyal to Rollo Tomasi. Like, it just gets nuts, right? So they're all part of this category. Donovan Sharp puts this video while he's still playing daddy to try to say, oh, well, guys, let's play nice. Let's stop doing hit videos on each other. Anthony Johnson, why the fuck are you hanging out with MGTOW dictionaries? And now let him continue.
Great brand. He's got a great product, but to me, he's f***ing it up with all of this, answer. And listen, I'm as guilty as anybody. But the lengths that he has gone to humiliate Rollo, it's gotten sophomoric, and it's almost starting to make him look like a joke, you know? And Anthony's smarter than that. He's a lot better than that. Stop that. So we got all these guys talking about one another, even MLD. I had to talk to him about that because he made a hit video on Joker.
You see how crazy it is? So MLD sees all of this shit happening, right? You guys remember, Rollo is getting hit by ADJ, right? Donnie Boy sees this, right? Doesn't like it, doesn't do anything. DDJ pops out, hits back at Rollo Tomasi. Donnie Boy sees this, right? And then MGTOW Dictionaries, actually MGTOW Dictionaries came out of nowhere. I think he was just looking for clout at that point. But he comes out, boom, hits Rollo Tomasi too as well. Donnie Boy comes out, throws a hit piece at ADJ, joins up with Rollo. Dude, it just gets crazy. Then MLD is sitting on the background looking and seeing all this shit happen. And he's like, well, fuck, I need a MGTOW dude to fucking attack. And he goes after Joker, which just sets this whole thing off. Guys, I want y'all to pay attention to something. Because when any one of these motherfuckers talk about these guys were the responsible for the breakup, or that guy was responsible for the breakup, all these guys were. Their actions did. All of them did. Shonen Spirit Beast. Yes, this is a Game of Thrones. Yo, do you know the next episode coming after this? The MGTOW Wars. Because I'm gonna explain that. I gotta go with the storyline, but I'm gonna explain that. It is a Game of Thrones episode, bro. You got the House of Rollo, or the House of Tomasi, right, or the House of Red Pill, and then you got, or I wouldn't say House of Red Pill. Let's just say the House of Rollo, all right. And you got the House of the 21 Studios, and then the House of MGTOW / Black Pill Alliance, bro. It's crazy, but all these guys are attacking each other. So at this point, MLD comes in. I mean, he's not as important as he thinks he is, but MLD comes in and then lays a smackdown on Joker, and Donnie Boy, obviously still aligned with Rollo Tomasi and loyal to the Rollo faction, okay, is pretending to play the middle guy or try to be the middle ground guy, but it's not working because everyone knows his alliance and his loyalty. This is Donovan Sharp's bullshit makeup attempt to basically defend Rollo after the shit hit the fan because he didn't do it the first time. Let's continue.
I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man? Same team, guys. Same team. Like at some point, man. And again, dude, like I had the whole O'Shea and Obsidian thing. I'm not going to sit here and act like I wasn't a part of it, but enough's enough.
He beefed with them. He was responsible for that O'Shea and Black Manosphere split.
Enough's enough. This is called the Manosphere. And everybody's team's intent. We want to vanquish feminism and we want to make women great again. How are we going to do that talking shit about the Godfather all the goddamn time? Like at some point you can only tell so many Fraudfather jokes. Like for serious, man. Like again, listen, man, you can come at me. I'm not going to listen to that stuff. I'm no longer co-branding with the likes of you. And I say that as respectfully as possible. So let the record show.
So yeah, so this was the second video, or at least we would say the first video, but Anthony Johnson referenced this video in his hit piece against Donovan as the let me take my mug out of here so you guys can see that. You can even see Anthony Johnson's 21 Studios post while in the video what we're talking about. So this was a video piece that he did when Donovan Sharp was kind of going on the circuit to try to defend Rollo Tomasi, and he did this with Bulldog Mindset. Now Bulldog Mindset tries to stay neutral. He does, but ends up going over to the House of Rollo. Okay, so he is part of the House of Rollo. So is Donovan Sharp and all these other guys. But at this point in time where he's doing this interview with Donovan Sharp, it's just to get the full story of what was going on. Donovan Sharp is going to make the point that the biggest reason for him separating completely from 21 Studios was because of Anthony Johnson teaming up with the likes of MGTOW Dictionaries and trying to do hit pieces on Rollo. Okay, we're still talking about the defense of Rollo after DDJ and MGTOW Dictionaries did their work. So let's continue.
You know, the only problem I have with that, Donovan, is that I feel like that just well, I mean, like again, I agree with you on all the drama, but the only problem I have with it, and again, just maybe something to think about, is that almost further propagates it. It's like, so what? So Anthony, you know, is slings mud, let him sling mud, but let's discuss ideas and let's be.
No, I agree. No, I agree. And I disagree with the fact that this further propagates it.
Okay.
All I am simply saying, I'm not trying to smear Anthony. All I'm saying is that I am no longer co-branding with him. That's it.
Okay.
I gave you my reasons. I don't like the fact that he is, you know, he got into bed with MGTOW Dictionary for a while. Like, dude, like, and MGTOW Dictionary.
Here's the thing I have to really say about this, because a lot of people on YouTube, especially guys who follow the space very deeply, they try to associate everyone with MGTOW Dictionaries that they don't like. I've even had people in my comment section say, "Oh, you hang out with MGTOW Dictionaries," and I'm like, I don't even know the guy, bro. And the last video that got sent to me about him, he was talking shit about me. So like, I have no association with this nigga whatsoever, but people are gonna make that claim. So the reason why I say this is that I wouldn't be surprised that around that point in time, people were also going around in the comment section making claims that ADJ was partnered with MGTOW Dictionaries and things like that. Although ADJ does mention MGTOW Dictionaries, it seemed like the real partnership was him and DDJ. Now, I think what they're doing is they're taking DDJ's association with MGTOW and guys like MD and the timing of MD jumping into the beef as reason enough. Listen, Jared, first of all, that's cap. That's fucking cap. Okay, I'm gonna just say that right now. I don't care if they you got to know your definition of no. I'm sure at this point in time they were very well aware of each other. MD and DDJ were very much aware of each other. That's not, dude. That is not a debatable. That's not debatable. They were definitely aware of each other. Now, if you want to make the argument, were they coordinating together? That's a different story. But there's no listen. There's a reason why all of this shit came out right around that same time. So you can't listen. You can't believe what I'm explaining to you all is what's going on versus what y'all see on the surface. You see what I'm saying? So at that point in time, they're associating MD with ADJ. And what I'm trying to make the argument is not necessarily saying that they were actually working together, but people in this Manosphere space, if they try to smear you, they'll just say that you associate with MD or MGTOW dictionaries. And the reason why they say that is because MGTOW dictionaries is such a toxic brand. If they're associated with you, it's pretty much it's kind of a dang at you. But I won't be surprised if other people at this point in time we're going around the comment section telling them that MD was associated with ADJ, but I'm pretty sure ADJ was aware of MGTOW dictionaries. Everybody at that point in time was aware of everybody at that point in time was aware of MGTOW dictionaries. He was making waves, and that beef he had with MLD after MLD punched that Joker, you remember that? MLD punched that Joker, MD punched that MLD, and it was hilarious. Okay, so they were all, trust me, aware of each other. But there you go. There's the story there. Let's continue.
Has made it very clear that he is not about the message. And I hate that my fucking camera is not working right now, but he has made it very clear.
Whoa, Shonen, is that true? Okay, I didn't know that. I thought Bulldog Mindset joined the House of Rollo, that faction. So if he got kicked out of the House of Rollo faction, who is he with right now? Who is he? Is he still speaking at the CME, or what's going on? Please update me on this. That I did not know that shit. But let's continue.
With his actions and his words, that he is, it's almost like he is trying to destroy people's brands. He's like, all he is doing is just going after people, putting out their personal information, this and that and third. Listen, man, I got nothing against Anthony, but when you get into bed with a guy like MGTOW Dictionary, I can no longer co-brand with you. Again, I say this in the most respectful way possible. It is what it is.
I think one of the problems I see is the chain reaction of associations where people are like, all right, if you associate with this person, I won't associate with you. And then, and I say this having been the subject of that, right? Because when I went and spoke at 21 convention, a lot of the Rule Zero guys were like, again, and I'm not saying any shit against them. I sure. Consider all those guys to be friends of mine, whether they have negative viewpoints of me or not. But a lot of guys, or even community members, were like, "Oh, you're a traitor. You're going to the other side." And I'm like, right. or I'm not going to associate with you if you associate with him. And to me, it's like when we keep on doing the, like, I'm not going to associate with you, and then no one can associate with anyone. And it's like, I got to check before I can talk to this person if this, and that's the drama that I just
John, listen,
despise, man.
Listen, John, I agree with you.
Yeah,
but I think that you and I can agree that MGTOW Dictionary, that's a different animal, dude. That's a different animal, man. Like, he's like
yeah, that's a different animal for sure.
Right. Well, there you go. And so, hang on a second, and I think I might have gotten my camera to finally work. And I apologize here.
Hey, we all have studio difficulties. I get it, buddy.
MGTOW Dictionary is a different animal, dude. He has nothing to, at least with Anthony, he put together an unbelievable event. He put together an unbelievable product. He did a lot of good things, pardon me, for the Manosphere. But when you get into bed with him for the purposes of smearing people, that's the one that I don't want to call it an unforgivable sin or anything like that. But I'm sorry, MGTOW Dictionary is not. He's made it clear that he is trying to literally tear down people's brands. He's doxing people's families, their mothers. At that point, it's one of these deals where I cannot co-brand with someone who gets into bed with the likes of him. So that's just it.
And I would say about that too. Like, again, I've reached out to.
Hold on, real quick. Listen, hold on, real quick. I want to make this clear.
Yeah.
So if you scroll up now, of course, now Anthony is doing this, right? Yes, it's true. I dropped out of the 21 convention because Stefan Molyneux was speaking. But after talking with Coach Greg Adams, having a brief conversation with Alpha Male Strategies, Steve the Dean Williams, they all said, listen, man, you got to look past that. We're doing this for the greater good. So I shot Anthony a text. I said, hey, listen, man, I've got the screenshots. I said, after further consideration, I would like to come back in. Now, here's the thing. When I told Anthony,
hold up now. We all read the screenshot, nigga. You were a little bit more apologetic than what you just made it out to be. See, what y'all gotta understand about Donnie Boy, he's a master at twisting words, right? It's just to suit certain things. So no, we all read it. I read it out loud. Okay, you basically wanted to come back in because Coach Ray Adams and all them boys, the three black guys are okay with Stefan Molyneux, then I'm okay. And now over here you're making it about MGTOW dictionaries. Nigga, pick a fucking hustle, bro. Like, real talk. Like, here's the thing, guys. Although we are this episode 2 about the Rule Zero fraud is focusing on Rollo side and Donnie Boy side and things like that, but at the end of the day, these guys, they're all fucking bullshitters, bro. At the end of the day, I'm just saying. So whatever they're saying, even I take it with a grain of salt, bro. Like, they're all class 1, grade A bullshitters. Matter of fact, Donnie Boy was busted for identity fraud. So let's just keep that in mind, people.
I was dropping out. He told me that the door was always open. And so I figured, okay, well, if the door is always open, then all right. Then I guess I can mull over my decision. Well, it made sense to me when I had conversations with other African-American, content creators, whatever the case may be. I didn't beg Anthony. I simply requested to get back in. And
it was Coach Greg Adams, guys, if you guys want to know. The other African-Americans he was talking about, one of them was Coach Greg Adams. Matter of fact, Coach Greg Adams was also a major, but sort of kind of minor player, right? And the major player, being major, he basically knew, he was actually among the first ones that knew about Donovan Sharps and his relationship situation, the real relationship situation with Devon Sharp. Okay, he knew, Coach Greg Adams knew that Donovan Sharp he wasn't just dating her. They were a lot closer than just dating. And that little girl that would run around the house, no, that wasn't his niece. That was her daughter. So for the longest time, Donovan Sharp and the rest of these guys, including guys like Coach Greg Adams, I still rock with you, brother. Right here, I still rock with you. But you lied by omission, right? But the same guys knew that Donovan Sharp was dating a single mom, but they tried to play it as that was her niece and not Devon Sharp's daughter. It was crazy, bro. So Coach Greg Adams, the reason why he's being mentioned is because he's also that character that plays both sides, but he was among the first one that knew about Donovan Sharp's real family situation, along with Steve Dean Williams, which he both mentions here. So let's continue.
He told me no. So for him to characterize that as begging, come on, man. Like, yes, I pulled out. Yes, I asked you to come back in. You said no. That was it. That's it.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, let me ask this then. We kind of went sort of a direction now, but I didn't expect all.
And I apologize here. MGTOW dictionary is a different animal, dude. Man.
You're light here, but I guess the question I would ask is, what does it take? As this is a good microcosm example, what does it take you, Donovan, and you, Anthony, to resolve your issues so that, and again, maybe you don't agree on everything. Maybe you have some different philosophies and things, but what does it take for us to say, okay, let's put this aside and let's be gentlemen here. What does it take?
Yeah, listen, man. Don't get into bed with guys like MGTOW Dictionary. Again, everybody's going to have disagreements with certain people. There are going to be certain philosophical differences that people have. There are going to be certain fundamental differences that people have. I have no problem with that. I'm going to actually start doing a show with David West. We fundamentally disagree on quite literally everything, but that doesn't mean that the two of us can't have an honest discourse, right?
Right.
And I'm not trying to tell him, listen, no one's going to tell either me or him what he can or cannot do. But if he continues to rub elbows with a man who has made it clear that he is just trying to assassinate people's character and tear down their brands, then I can't work with you. If you don't work with guys like that, then yeah, that's what it would take. But again, and I understand what you mean. This further propagates.
I don't want to listen to more Donovan's bullshit because he's capping right now. But when that video that you guys just watched essentially was the video Anthony Johnson saw it as the big diss that Donovan Sharp was throwing his way. And what 80 Day did afterwards was then drop that infamous diss video of Donovan Sharp, we all now know and can't stop laughing about, basically exposing his whole situation. And although Bulldog Mindset asked that question, will they ever get back together? No. No, after that video was dropped, the Manosphere was forever fractured. The Black Manosphere doing their thing, you know, everybody else is doing their thing. Rule Zero guys, they're doing their thing, right? So they all split up. They're not talking. No one's gonna come together. But that's basically what it is. But it is not over. It's not over because essentially what ends up going on is Rollo, because this is we got to talk about the aftermath here. At the aftermath of this fracture, people, because we got to do this. All right. The aftermath is once Rollo sees that DDJ has that hit piece, the narrative that Rollo is trying to take over the Manosphere is starting to take hold amongst the Manosphere audience, right? They pretty much retreated. Him, Richard Cooper, they went back to the House of Rollo and they're plotting their next comeback. And they fully formed the House of Rollo to not the rational male like Richard Cooper stated earlier, but it actually became Rule Zero, right? And Rule Zero became what Rollo actually wanted for the Redman group, which was a situation where he can do in speaking events by partnering up with Donnie Boy, but also coming together and doing live stream or live podcasts where they just talk about females all day, right? And that was it. So the Rule Zero kind of puts everything together. It takes Donovan Sharp's CME, which Rollo still supports, right? And it combines it with the podcast of Rule Zero to get what the Redman group was, what Rollo wanted out of the Redman group this whole time. So what you're seeing with Rule Zero and the CME conjunction is basically what Rollo tried to turn the Redman group into after Richard Cooper left, for which he was promptly fired for. So that's basically that whole situation there. And when Rollo retreated, he mentioned something. He also stated this in the email too as well. And what he stated was, listen, guys, I get it. This may seem as a big old victory to you, but the victory wasn't really a major victory for you, Anthony Johnson. Realistically, the people who won were the MGTOW guys. In sense, and I quote Rollo on this one, he said that this wasn't an ADJ victory. It was a MGTOW victory. And he wasn't wrong. He actually was not wrong because no one really won when this whole Manosphere war came out. I mean, when the Manosphere was young and Anthony Johnson was running the CME, or not CME, the 21 Studios, like we actually really had a chance of everyone really coming together and not saying being all good spirits, right? Because we got egos and shit, but working with each other and really building something cohesive, right? But it just didn't happen. The real losers were you guys, the audience. ADJ lost. Rollo Tomasi lost. They all lost because although the drama is fantastic, in Class 555, I see a post. That's what we here for. So welcome, grab your glass and relax. We talking about some drama here, okay? But like that's what it is, right? For guys like us, the drama's okay. But like for those of the guys who hang on Rollo's every word and like, listen, I'm assuming that you guys in this chat and those of you guys who are going to be watching on the after show, I'm assuming you guys aren't really as invested into this like Manosphere stuff. Like you're kind of like me that we just kind of talk about this shit and laugh, right? So those people who get really serious, like you guys are weirdos. Let's just be real. Y'all are fucking weird. But I'm assuming you guys in the chat are not as invested in these content creators, which is good, right? We don't want you guys to be as invested. But if you guys are watching this, the people who are really invested in this stuff, they hang on Rollo's every word, they hang on Donnie Boy's every word, or Richard Cooper's $60 a minute seminars, right? They lost. They really did because they missed out on what could potentially be something great, right? So they lost, and you would think, was this actually a MGTOW victory? Well, would it be surprising if I told you guys that it wasn't a MGTOW victory? Although the MGTOW guys did aid in the success of, you know, Rollo and them kind of running off and, you know, doing their thing with the hit pieces, right? They kind of took that on as a MGTOW victory because a lot of these MGTOW guys were running around with their chest pounding like, yeah, we took out Rollo. We took out all these guys. Look at the videos we did, right? Gonzo and all these other guys, right? Listen. MGTOW guys actually end up losing in the end because they got fractured. You know, it was bad. It was bad, right? Matter of fact, it was so bad. The House of MGTOW itself would go through its own internal civil war. Okay, because MGTOW dictionaries, holy shit. And the crap that came out of that, and then the split with the whole black pill guys. Oh my God, this is leading me into the next episode, which I'm calling the MGTOW Wars. Okay, you guys do not want to miss that, because you want to talk about niggas getting exposed. This shit gets bad, bro. I told y'all, like, this stuff was a mess. Like I told y'all from the get-go. I hope y'all can follow the story, because it was a mess. You got the House of Rollo faction, the House of ADJ faction, the House of MGTOW and Blackville faction, and these guys are all just like fighting each other for dominance of all y'all young, vulnerable minds. Okay, so in the end, like I said, I don't think there was any real winners in this. The Manosphere is fractured. Everyone is just kind of like loosely doing their own thing. I mean, Kevin Samuels actually had a real chance of pulling a lot of stuff together, but unfortunately that didn't work out very well. But you know, that, as I stated, I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was crazy, and I don't want to go into the MGTOW Wars because we're gonna get into some like crazy ass shit. But that's gonna be next episode. I'm gonna take this time to kind of see what you guys are talking about in the chat. But yeah, I saw there was Tej that put a comment up there a while back. I'm gonna go back to that one. The reason why I put a lot of stuff in the I basically talk in this video a lot is because a lot of our audience do like the longer form content. I mean, I do reaction videos for Manosphere stuff, but a lot of you guys like the live stuff too, mixed with the reaction videos. So I'm trying to do a healthy mix. So I'm sorry, not the technical difficulties one, but you know, listen, I have to, you know, put that in because people want longer streams. You got to understand, you guys who are watching the show live, the show, people also watch it while they're doing other things, whether they're, you know, driving or listening to other stuff. So, you know, they like a longer form content, but I do hear where you're coming from, T-Sheet. So what I'm going to start doing is clipping some of these live streams and getting it down to the meat and potatoes like you like. All right. It's difficult as you run a mid-sized platform. All right. You know, you can't please everybody. Okay. So we tried here. Okay. But I appreciate y'all rocking with this. And Express Lane, you're absolutely right, bro. They are taking advantage of young dudes out here. Yeah, didn't he teach at a Japanese school too as well? MLD, didn't he do that? Right, he was taking pictures of random kids. I don't know what was going on, bro. You can't lock kids in a classroom and take pictures of them. MLD, it's weird. But that also goes into the MD and MLD during the MGTOW Wars episode. So y'all don't want to miss that. Y'all definitely want to stay tuned. MLD plays a huge role in the MGTOW Wars. But it looks like, you guys have any questions or anything like that? Yeah, I'm gonna link the other channels, guys. I'm posting the my my skit video. This one is non-Manosphere because my other channel is called Duke Nukem 006. Okay, and this one I'm actually gonna link it. I didn't link it in the last one. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to like manage different things. So I just do skits, and some of them are based off sales, some of them are based off all the other things. We're gonna be dropping on that channel once every week. So realistically, if you guys fuck with just funny skits that aren't or having anything to do with the Manosphere whatsoever, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as soon as you see the link in the description. Okay, do me a huge solid and grow that page. And I'm actually going to start having rewards for that page too as well. So that's going to be a really I got goals for that channel. That channel is going to be awesome. And for those of you guys who talk about, oh, all you do is talk about other niggas, no, I do other shit too. This channel is for talking about Manosphere niggas. That's it. All right, the other channel, we do fun shit. So Duke Nukem 006 and the Nigerian Times, please go ahead and check us out. We appreciate your support, all that. So yeah, I'll link that. I'll make sure to link that that one. Express Lane, the next show is not going to be next week, but the week after next week we're going to drop that one. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you have your notifications on so you don't miss it. But it's going to be the MGTOW Wars. Y'all don't want to miss that shit because MGTOWs and Black Pill, like they go at it. And yeah, Jared, you're right. MD exposed the fuck out of MLD. That's why the MGTOW Wars episode is very important. But guys, I appreciate y'all sticking with us even through the technical difficulties. I don't know what the fuck that was, but I appreciate y'all sticking through. I appreciate y'all like being here. You could be anywhere in the world right now, but you're here with Duke and Don or Duke the Don. So I appreciate that. So on your way out, please hit the like button, subscribe button, that bell notification so YouTube lets you know whenever we're back in these streets. Take it easy, y'all.